I had spent weeks perfecting my costume. I was a classic witch, wearing a tall pointy hat and a long flowing black cape that billowed behind me like a cloud of smoke. At my friend's party, the world felt bright and full of life. The living room was a sea of orange lights and fake spiderwebs. I laughed until my stomach hurt and danced until my feet ached. We drank sweet cider, competed for the best costume, and sang along to loud music that drowned out the wind howling outside. For a few hours, the world was nothing but joy and sugar. But as the night wore on, the air in the room seemed to change. The music started to sound a bit too loud, and the shadows in the corner of the room seemed to stretch longer than they should. I felt a strange sense of unease creeping up my neck. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just the spooky decorations or the fact that I was tired. Still, when I stepped out of the front door to walk home, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The streets were mostly empty now. The happy groups of trick-or-treaters had gone home to count their candies, leaving the neighborhood silent. As I turned onto Maple Street, a movement caught my eye. I stopped, my breath catching in my throat. A figure stood beneath a flickering streetlight. Its shape was strange, twisted, and hunched. I squinted, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. My heart began to race as the figure stepped forward. It was a clown. Its face was painted in bright, ugly colors. A wide, mean grin was drawn across its cheeks, stretching almost to its ears. The clown's eyes were dark and hollow, like two empty holes in its head. It wasn't moving. It was just staring directly at me. It's a Halloween prank, I whispered to myself. I forced my leg to move, keeping my eyes on the ground. But as I walked past the streetlight, I could feel its gaze pouring into my back like a physical weight. I quickened my pace. The click-clank of my boots on the pavement seemed to echo too loudly in the stillness of the night. I couldn't help myself. I glanced over my shoulder. To my horror, the clown was right behind me. It wasn't running. It was walking with a strange, jerky motion, its smile never changing. Fear spiked through me. I didn't think, I just ran. I darted down a narrow alleyway, hoping to lose the figure in the dark. I stopped behind a large trash bin, pressing my back against the cold brick wall. My breath comes in ragged gasps. I cover my mouth with my hand, trying to be silent, straining to hear any sound of footstep. For a moment it was quiet. Then I heard it, a soft mocking laugh. It was high-pitched and sounded like a child playing, but there was something cruel hidden in the sound. I peeked around the corner of the bin. There it was. The clown was standing at the entrance of the alley. It tilted its head to one side, looking at me like a cat watching a mouse. "Why so serious?" it called out. Its voice was thin and sharp. "It's just a game." I stumbled back, my mind spinning. Who was this person? I don't recognize the costume from the party. Even though I had never seen this clown before, it felt like it knew exactly where I was going to turn next. I turned, ran deeper into the maze of back streets. I burst into a small courtyard surrounded by tall fences. The moonlight turned everything silver. I spun around, gasping for air, but the courtyard was empty. I was alone. "This isn't real," I told myself, clutching my chest. "It's a trick. A friend is playing a joke." But the air felt heavy and cold, and the smell of old grease and cheap face paint seemed to hang in the air. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again. It wasn't coming from the entrance. This time it was coming from everywhere. I turned around, and the clown was there, standing just a few feet away. It had moved with impossible speed. "You can't escape me," it shrieked. "I'm part of the night." The clown lunged forward. I screamed and dove to the side. As I moved, I felt a sharp, stinging sensation on my left forearm, right through the fabric of my cape. It felt like a bee sting, hot and sudden. I didn't stop to look. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted toward the exit, my heart thumping against my ribs like a trapped bird. I burst out onto the main street. Thankfully, a group of old teenagers and a few late-night trick-or-treaters were walking nearby. I ran toward them, desperate to be near other people. I looked back one last time. The clown was standing at the edge of the dark courtyard. It didn't follow me into the light. Its white smile faded into a dark, hateful scowl. Next year, my dear, it hissed, then it stepped backward into the shadows and vanished. I stayed with the group of teenagers until I reached my front door. I locked the deadbolt and checked the windows and leaned against the door trembling. I felt exhausted, but my arm was still throbbing. I went into the bathroom, pulled off my black cape. My sleeve was torn. I rolled it up, expecting to see a scratch or a bruise from where the clown had grabbed me. Instead, my blood ran cold. There, etched into my skin, was a fresh tattoo. It was small but perfectly clear. A tiny, grinning clown face, exactly like the one that had chased me. The skin around it was red and angry, yet the ink was dark and permanent. There were no needle, no chair, or no time for a tattoo to have been made, yet there it sat. I lay in my bed that night, staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that high-pitched mocking laugh. I looked down at my arm in the moonlight. The clown's tiny inked eyes seemed to have sparkled in the dark, a permanent reminder that the game wasn't over. It was just waiting for next year.